Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is sponsored and brought to you by Pocket Jack Comics, who have books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily, and you can find those books at pocketjackcomics.com. So go check those books out. I think you will enjoy them if you like D&D, you like sexy women, you like really nice artwork by people like Keith Garvey and a few other people. Mike Chrome is involved there and has done a lot of cover work for my good friend Preston at pocketjackcomics.com. You get all those books there, check them out, as well as looking in your comic shops, as well as on Kickstarter. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Dolan, who's done a lot of stuff in comics, both for other companies, his own company, obviously with Aaron Sparrow, to name a few people. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be back. I think this is what, my fourth time right by now?
Well, fifth, seventh, I don't know. I stopped counting a while ago.
Yeah, I forget.
I don't even know what I did 10 minutes ago. So again, I'm not the one to ask here on who's been on the most, who's not been on the most. It's crazy. But obviously, I've been interviewing you for a while. Obviously, you've done a lot of things for a bunch of different companies, and you got a lot going on. But why don't you introduce who you are for those who do not know who you are? Because there's some people who say, who is Dolan? Some people remember you, and then some people say, hey, it's been a while. So what do you got going on? And a quick introduction before we get into some of the cool stuff you've been up to.
Yeah, it's been a while. My name is Dolan Waddick. I've been a professional comic book writer since 2022. I started writing professionally with Born of Blood, which was for Merc Publishing, and that was a 6-issue series. Then after that, I started doing some crossover work with Marat Michaels, did the Catfight versus Naughty and Nice, and then that led to more work with Marat Michaels, doing some co-writing projects like Battle Fairy and Yeti meet Red Sonja, and getting to write Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Naughty and Nice, and that's led to many more projects with Marat Michaels, and that's also and it's soon after that I've become the lead writer for TCM Press, which is owned by Steve Finkel, who owns the Comic Mint. And I am now the lead writer for Unholy Nightmare, Depths of Valor, and Silent Nights, which are all published under the TCM Press banner. And I'm writing for Big Ivan, owner of Big IV Comics. I'm writing the series Headshot for him, as well as a few others that have yet to be announced yet.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack. So obviously, I mean, we've spoken about Born of Blood, we've spoken about a few other things, but obviously, and we also spoke about Unholy Nightmare, but that's kind of your first enter into the Kickstarter realm. And so, and the reason why I bring this up is that obviously it's an interesting book, and obviously it's related to the Comic Mint, but that's your first kind of doing it yourself project in certain ways. And so, I mean, that's very different than being part of a publisher. And even though that was also done somewhat through Kickstarter, doing it on your own and getting the whole experience is extraordinarily different than necessarily having the backing of a company.
No, you're right. I mean, Aurelio and I, we put our time, our money, many thousands of our dollars into that project, and we strongly believe, I believe, people who've read it, have seen it, they believe Unholy Nightmare #1 is a beautiful comic book. They believe it's a fun comic book. They believe it's a horrific, action-packed comic book, and they cannot wait for Chapter 2. And we're just about done with Chapter 2 as well. But I mean, promoting it yourself, doing it yourself, fulfilling it yourself, there's nothing like it. You know, it's one of those badge of honors to say, like, yeah, I did all that. What have you done that yet? No, I did all that.
Let's actually talk about that, because I think it's really interesting. So obviously, for those who don't know, I run an eBay business, and I do everything in my eBay business, from packing up and licking envelopes to figuring out product, to figuring out how to market the product, to dealing with customer service. And I run the whole thing. And I won't tell somebody, and hopefully I will get to the point where I get to hire somebody. I will not tell somebody to do something that I haven't done myself. And I think there's something in comics that, you know, the big guys in DC, Marvel, maybe even Image, don't understand that, hey, you're not marketing your book. And I think there's something to be said about that, because obviously you do have the Comic Mint now with your other book, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes here. But I think there's something to be said when you get a holistic experience. And I think people in indie comics get it, but I also think there's a massive disconnect in comics. And I'm curious what you think about that, because that's how I feel. And I actually think the industry is worse off because of that.
Yeah, and I would say the industry, the part of the industry that I'm in, is pretty much a direct to consumer. I am directly dealing with the buyer of that book. So when I see their order, it's not a store, it's not several stores. It is a person. It's an individual. So it's a much more intimate order, if you will, and because that person believes in you. And whereas if I were for DC or Marvel, they may not believe in me. They may believe in the character in DC Comics itself. The creator is almost out of the at that point. But with here, they're pretty much investing in you, which is great.
So let me ask this, because I actually am curious, because I don't know if you've done this, and I've done this in my eBay business, where when I'm selling to a particular region, and maybe it's a little bit different because when you're selling and you're bringing in a lot of, cards from Detroit. So like I brought in a bunch of Tigers cards, and I've sold a lot of Tigers cards and players and things of that nature to that area. I then do an economic analysis. And so I have an idea of the economics of my customers. And I don't know if you've gone this far, and maybe I'm a super like nerd about this, but I have a real understanding, and I don't have any like proof beyond, just what is the median income of an area of 50 miles. But I have a real understanding and a real idea of what my customer is, what potential job they may have. And because when you start going through data like this, because I want to know exactly what my customers look like, what they want, what they're interested in, their buying patterns, because I want to give them exactly what they want. And maybe I find it fascinating just on a data level. But that's what I think is so interesting about indie comics when you're dealing directly with your customers, is that you can build composites. And that's something that I think is really interesting. And you could also say, cool, if I'm selling to, and you have legitly 800 orders and 400 of them are all from New York, you're like, what is about this book that relates to New York exactly hitting? And so, I mean, that's how I run my business, is that I love using data points. And I know Kickstarter gives you a boatload of data points. And so I don't know if you've gotten that far, because maybe I'm the odd one out here, but I've done that on eBay where I get data and I'm like, cool, a lot of people just bought this card from this region. Why did they buy it at this price point? Because I think that's so fascinating to me. And I think it's the part that doesn't get spoken about in business with comics is, cool, what connected at what price point? And also, why did people gravitate towards this story? And is there something about this region that really just worked with this story?
So trust me. I like you. I look deep into the numbers for Unholy Nightmare. Like the backers, the region, the dollar spent, where the race. Well, not they don't do the race. I'm sorry. The sex, the age.
It's okay. It's okay. Their ethnicity, their SCO is what it's called. Yeah. Socioeconomical status number, essentially. That's an important number. I mean, I'm not trying to sound politically incorrect, and I'll take the heat for it. But there is a bunch of parameters with, a bunch of different components that make us humans that develop a score. And it's not like you're getting scored if you're a 10 versus 100. That's not the issue here. We're all perfect 10s here.
But yeah, so I did notice, it was mostly males between like 25 to 40 around the Midwest and California. But the majority that was bought was Cover A. Cover A was bought the most. And so Murphy, who worked at Merck, who runs a lot of Kickstarters, editor-in-chief at TCM Press, she says, it's general rule of thumb, Cover A sells the best, more than any other cover you'll put up, generally speaking. So, plus it was the cheaper one, so I guess that was our $10 cover, and it did sell the most. So I guess, it just tells me that the people like the cheaper cover and like Cover A, and it's a great cover. So I can't argue with that.
No, I'm just like a super number geek, and I love
Mhm,
understanding why something
mhm,
works. I just like understanding it, and it's like science to me. It's like food porn for me. That's
mhm,
exactly what it's like. And that's my whole thing. But again, the reason why I bring this up is that obviously when you are doing it yourself and you get that data, that's one thing. That's one of the nice things about Kickstarter that I think is really lacking in comics. And then the reason why I bring all this up, though, is that obviously you did a book, Silence Nights.
mhm,
I think that was through TCM,
mhm,
and that was still Kickstarter, but it was also had
mhm,
like a prequel issue that was associated with them, and that's not as much indie as Unholy Nights was. And that's why I bring this up because I
mhm,
think it's really interesting when you have both experiences. And obviously, you've done stuff with Marat Michaels
mhm,
and a bunch of other people. Born of Blood was also similarly done through Merc Publishing and
mhm,
Merc Comics and everything. But what is that like? Because again, you have a unique perspective because you've done the
mhm.
indie thing, but then you're also having a major company that's also doing it through Kickstarter, which is a massively different experience. I think. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, it absolutely is. Because I mean, when you're going through like someone like the TCM Press or the Comic Mint, you've got the backing of the Comic Mint, which well does have the money and it does have the reach, the further reach than you would be able to yourself. Like through them, I would be able to get through tens of thousands of more people advertising my book than I would on my own, and which is very very beneficial. A mailing list is so incredibly beneficial to launching a Kickstarter. The more people you got to spread the word about in an email, the better. That's what I got to recommend.
So let's actually talk about this because it's also even more than that. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a prequel issue that came out even before the Kickstarter for a
Uh,
comic. This came out.
no, it was a no, it was a preview edition. It was issue one, but like it was just a preview pages. They weren't fully done yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Again. I'm
Mhm.
not. I don't remember the whole thing exactly. But you have that, and then I know that wasn't done on the Kickstarter, but that was done like I think like a week before, if I'm not mistaken, or around that, or like a few weeks before.
Yeah.
And then obviously it was done through their website, which is also a whole different ballgame, or it was done at a convention. I'm not exactly sure either the full extent of that, but that also is a game changer because, as you stated, if you have the economic backing, you
Mhm.
could release a cool preview edition. It's related to a convention, and then you launch a Kickstarter. Well, you naturally gain interest,
Yeah.
and it's almost you're cultivating an additional audience beyond just an email list as well, and then you also have a con exclusive attached to it. So it's like setting up for success, and that's why I bring this up because that's also a whole different ball game when you get to that level.
Yeah. So I will total disclosure. I mean, when we launched it at New York last year, it was a great learning experience in the sense that we learned, okay, we're not going to launch a Kickstarter during New York Comic Con. Uh, that was not a good idea on our part. It look, the campaign did fine, but it in terms of like a first time, but it should have done better. And we learned, okay, we're not going to do this during a Kickstarter. We're not going to do a Kickstarter during a convention ever again because it distracts the people who are there focused on the New York Comic Con stuff. Now you have this Kickstarter. It's like, do I want to spend money on this or do I want to spend money on that? And they have they have stuff at New York Comic Con for this book, but it's going to conflict people, and they may cancel each other. They may cancel both out and not spend any money at your store with that. But
That's interesting. See, this is so interesting because you're bringing up a great point on when to launch your Kickstarter,
yeah.
or even when to list the product, right? So I'll give an example. The Super Bowl was this weekend. I don't know if anybody missed it. It's just a major event that 127 million people watched. But I purposely listed a bunch of football cards that weekend in my eBay store, knowing that football is the lexicon, right?
Yes.
And I sold a few of them, right? And it was I thought it's a good idea because clearly I'm not going to list baseball cards in the middle of the Super Bowl. Maybe I should, I don't know, but the idea is that like when you launch matters. So like right now it's tax season. So I'm not really focused on launching really expensive items in my eBay store while people are filing their taxes. But come April, what is tax? Like April 17th or is it April 15th this year? I don't know exactly. Don't quote me. But come May, that's when I'm going to bring in really expensive items and start listing like items that are $500, $600, $700 into my eBay store because people are now past tax season. And so people now don't have to worry about a tax bill. And also it's warmer weather. People tend to be happier. People tend to want to spend money. And I think it's really important to know when to launch your campaign and when not to launch your campaign. I would never launch a campaign during San Diego week. That's a terrible idea. Now, should you list products in your store during that week? Of course. But I would not want to compete with a major entity like San Diego, New York. Wouldn't want to compete with MegaCon, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. And thankfully, we didn't launch any campaigns during MegaCon. But I do know I talked with Steve. We are talking about launching probably in the next month or so for Depths of Valor. But we'll see what he says when that's almost ready to go. But yeah, you got to make hey, learning from your mistakes. That's what you got to do. And I'm glad that we learned it from the get-go as opposed to later on. So this was a great learning experience. We definitely won't do that again.
And then to even go further into this, because obviously Silent Nights, obviously it was a successful campaign. And then speaking about MegaCon, you had some variants from MegaCon from this year. Did. And so what was that like? Because that's also part of the thing with the Comic Men is that they are distribution, they're a backer, they're an economic resource, they have comic connections, they have affiliate comic shops that they work with. KRS is one of the ones that they share variants with, a few others they share variants with. And so what was that like? Because that's pretty cool too, because again, if you were doing this independent and you didn't have the Comic Men or another shop backing you or another company backing you, it's pretty hard to do a variant at a con, I think.
Yeah, it can be, and we did all right at the booth. We did all right. Where we were, our spot, where we were at, kind of, wasn't the best, but we did all right. I had other books at the show that did incredibly well. I'm the writer for, I forgot to list another book I'm a writer for. It's called Aftermath from Blame Canada Publishing. I'm writing that, and that sold like gangbusters at MegaCon. I think Spencer Voikin, he sold out of several of the variants there, and I couldn't be happier about that. And there was a Symbiote Willie book that I wrote. I think it was PCB Hobbies. They did a variant of that, and I signed like 60, almost 70 copies of that for their store, and it sold amazingly well. So you have all. So I'm like a parent. I have all these kids, and I don't want to play favorites. But some are more successful than others, which is unfortunate. But I love them all equally.
Let's actually talk about that, because obviously I like certain products in my eBay store, right? And I have affiliations to that. But certain products that I like and that I personally want to bring in kill it, and others don't. But I believe every product has an idea and an ideal and a component. So a product that might not do well today may be producing me a solid 5% rate of return, and will always do that. And I think it's really important that it's a baseline. But then I have other things that are getting me like 25% above profit margin. And so like I think it's a real balancing act if you're doing variants or you're doing different books, where if a book will consistently sell at a 5% level, you want that stuff because it's your base level, and it's also kind of like automatic, right?
Yeah,
because an automatic basic sale or a slow burner can be very helpful when things aren't working. But then you also need those big things to do well that get those spotty components, I think, because this is business 101, right? That if something is hot, I mean, if it keeps your business afloat or keeps your income afloat, I mean, like that's the trick, right? As a comic writer, is that you need to figure out the balance, because a nice payday is helpful every once in a while.
Yep, it is. Money's nice. Money's good to have it here. But it's one thing I was great that Steve and we all believe in is that we're gonna have books that do better than others. That's just the way it is. And what's great about that, those books that do well, they can help support the books that we still completely believe in and love, and it really helps get those funded, and produced and made, because we love those stories just as much, and it's kind of a little bit just taking that to support this, and just to help us get all these stories out that we truly love and believe in and we've worked hard on.
So you don't believe in taking an idea if it doesn't produce money like 2 years after and shooting it behind the barn?
No, no, we don't. No, and Steve, thankfully, he's letting us tell our stories, and he's not just killing something after an issue, 2 issues. Hey, it's not selling, it's done. It's like, what? No, we're getting to tell our stories, which is great.
This is so interesting. I am like so the opposite. Like, if an idea doesn't work after like 3 months or so, or I give it enough time, where I think if something is not working, after a while, it's like it's time to say, okay, cool, this idea didn't work. Why didn't it work? And let's move on to the next one. And sometimes you let something play out for way too long. Sometimes you don't let it play out enough. But I think that there gets a point where you got to take it behind the barn and say, okay, I'll open up a nice bottle of wine. We'll mourn over it, and then we'll move on to the next one. And maybe it's the investment banker in me. I don't know. Or maybe it's like I like killing things behind the barn. I don't know. It's one or the other.
And I understand that. I completely understand that. And but thankfully, Steve, he wants us to tell our stories, which is great.
No, I think it's fascinating. Yeah. I think it's fascinating. Yeah. But anyway, this is the time where I drop another advertisement for everybody. My next comic is Killing It Behind the Barn. I just want to let everybody know. I am writing it. I am currently on panel 1. It's going very slowly. No, no. I find it interesting. But even to go further into this too, because obviously, the other thing that I think is really interesting about the whole Comic Mint stuff is that you do have that name attached to it, because I think there's also a lot of credibility that's attached, because I've been buying from the Comic Mint for I think 5 or 6 years now, way before they entered the publishing game. And I've always had a pretty good experience. They're pretty good at getting me books. Every once in a while, there's a slight delay on something, but that's expected because there's a printing issue. But that's the nature of comics. But I've never had an issue with the Comic Mint. I just bought a bunch of CGC books. It was buy one, get one free, which was great. That they do every, I think, New Year's or Christmas around that time, which is cool. I mean, hey, when you're getting a Will Jack book and then you buy 2 of them, you get one of them for free. That's a 9.8 that has a drawing on it. I mean, how can you complain, right?
I think we call that a win.
I'm not complaining. It's good. It's like a 9.8. It's fantastic. Like Will Jack drawing Supergirl. It's almost as good as Michael Turner. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Michael Turner's like the best at drawing Supergirl. And I will debate anybody any day on that topic, and you will lose.
I think a close second. I think a close second would have been Adam Hughes, but that's as far as I'm going to go.
Adam Hughes is great. Adam Hughes, Laura Croft. Oh my God, her holding an Uzi, drinking a martini is one of the best covers he's ever drawn. It's so ridiculous. Ridiculous. But it says everything it needs to say, and it's brilliant. And I spent a little too much money on that cover, and it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. She's in a bikini on a beach in like a lounge chair, drinking her martini, holding an Uzi. It's so obscure. It's like my favorite cover that Adam Hughes has ever drawn. It's absolutely brilliant. But I'm not going to contest. But Will Jack is pretty good at Supergirl.
Yes, he is.
Oh, it's fantastic. But I think credibility matters in comics. I really think credibility, and I think names are a really important thing in comics, especially because if Silent Night was not attached to the Comic Mint, it would not be as far as where it is right now. And I hate to say like name dropping is important, but it is.
It's yeah. I mean, probably. I mean, we'll we won't know. It's a probability. I would say there's probably about a 70% probability. Yeah, it wouldn't have been, but we didn't go that. We didn't make that decision, so we'll never know.
I'll put it this way, right? It's if you drop a name. So as an interviewer, and it's just my experience is that when I get lucky and then I get one person and then I drop their name, it opens up doors. So if you drop, so there's been all these people. So there's a guy named Jeff Nimoy who brought Digimon to the States, and he was like the lead writer on Digimon. It just so happens that I've interviewed Joshua Seth and all these other people, Debbie Mae West, and all these other David Prince was on my show. And then Jeff Nimoy was like, normally I don't do interviews, but you've interviewed all my friends. I cannot not be at the show, right? I wouldn't normally be here, but you've legitimately interviewed all the people who are in my show. And how can I not be here for this? Because if everybody else was on your show, it's not going to be a good look if I'm not. And all of a sudden, like, that's the point. It helped to name drop. And then in other areas, when you start name dropping, especially in the adult industry with some of the people that I've interviewed, it's tremendously helpful because all of a sudden somebody's like, wait a second, you've interviewed this person, this person, this person. And then the person I was asking was shooting with like 4 of those people in the last 3 weeks. They're like, yeah, like if I'm not on your show, something is missed here. And so without a doubt, that's my experience. It gives me credibility and it gives me the idea that, oh, I'm not just some kid asking who doesn't know jack shit.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I say it, because I don't think it's necessarily credibility necessarily for the industry, but when something is attached to the comic man, I'm like, okay, cool. They're a reputable company and they're not going to screw me. And they're going to produce a quality book. And so as a consumer level, and I don't know what it looks like internally, because I think comics are a nightmare internally. I don't know what people think because I'm not in that space, but that's just my impression of comics, is that it is a political nightmare to navigate. That's my impression of it. And again, I'm not a comic guy. I'm not in the sway of it. But as a consumer, when the comic mint or KRS or another company's attached, I feel a lot more comfortable buying.
Yeah, and I will say, working with the Comic Mint, knowing Steve, knowing his staff, I could say it is arguably one of the most, if not the most, stand-up crew in store I've ever met, I've ever run across. Steve is incredibly honest and hardworking, and just everything you would want in a store owner as well as a publisher. He's fantastic. He lets the creatives create, and he's great with the customers. Great sense of humor. He's fun to chat with. He's incredibly honest with what he's producing. He loves comics. Yeah, he's just an all-around solid dude, and I have nothing negative at all to say about this guy. It's been fantastic working with this guy, and if I didn't feel comfortable, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be working with him. It's been a tremendous, fantastic experience.
No, I mean, I enjoy the comic, man. As a customer, I've never had a problem with them. I've never.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, look, I mean, what you just said. If you were to go to New York Comic Con, and you go to the Comic Mint, if you were to see the Comic Mint booth, like on Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, they are always the one that has the line. They have the longest line because they always have the hottest and the best exclusives, and people trust them.
So I actually want to touch on that, because obviously I've had some pretty rough experiences. This not this year, because this year's still young, but last year I had some pretty bad experiences that I don't want to get too deep into, because again, I don't know who's watching, I don't know your relationships, I don't know everybody's relationships, but if people want to know, you're more than welcome to ask me publicly, privately, whatever that is. But I've had some pretty rough experiences in 2024 in comics that have really tested my, I guess, faith in it. And so I think that's a real issue in comics. I can't be the only one who's had this. And I don't think that 2024 in particular, and I've had bad experiences on Kickstarter, I've had bad experiences with other just regular store purchases, other things that have happened in comics. And so I think trust is a really big issue right now in business collectively. And in comics, I think it's a huge huge issue, at least my experience. And as a consumer, it's been rough for me. And maybe it's because I picked the wrong people. Maybe I had too much faith in people. That's perfectly fine to admit too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a trust issue right now going on. And that's just my experience. I've had a lot of problems on Kickstarter last year. I would say about 15% of the Kickstarters that I backed last year had problems. And that's a lot. Please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah, trust is very hard to come by, and it's as you get older, it's something that needs to be earned, in my opinion. And there was an individual I worked with for a few years. I completely lost trust in that guy, with what he was doing. Completely, anything and everything is gone. But I'm able, after this experience, I've been able to really kind of sniff out, like, something is wrong here. I don't feel right about this. I've pretty good notes about that by now. And fortunately enough, after having several talks and discussions with Steve and Thiago de Silva and a few others last year about the comic TCM Press, what they wanted to do, and knowing the plan, what they wanted, projections, and what they wanted to do, and what they wanted me to do. I'm like, this feels great, and I gave them my stipulations for this, what I expect, what my do's, my don'ts, and we all agreed to it, and it's been fantastic. And that's just comes from learning and building that trust. And Steve has earned my trust.
No, again, it could also be, and I'll say this about me and trust, is that it could also be that I've been burned, and after everything that's happened, now I am just jaded, and it's going to take a lot. And look, there are people in comics who I love as people, but I don't trust them at all.
I will say there are people that I consider just complete dog crap for human beings. There are people I like but don't trust. There are people I trust and like. There are people I love and completely trust wholeheartedly, like a brother. It's a scale for me. You go from absolute scum on the planet to love and trust.
There are people I hate in comics, but I trust they're going to deliver a book. I could hate somebody and think they're the worst person on the planet, but they're going to deliver a book. So I trust that they're going to deliver a book. I just don't want to be near them. And then there's people that I absolutely love. I love hanging out with them, but I'm not backing their project ever again because I don't trust them. Right.
So even if I were to trust someone, if I don't like them, honestly, I probably won't back them. It's just that's just me. It's like if I don't like it, it's like
I'm not saying I'm going to
can't do it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm explaining is that I know that their customers are going to get their product. So you're not going to hear, if I don't like somebody, my criticism of them is that they don't deliver their books. There are people who have openly said, I think that person's a scumbag, but you're going to get your product from them. I just think they're a horrible human being who has issues, who goes apeshit crazy, and is a loose cannon. And people are like, I can respect that clearly you just don't like the person, but their customers are happy with their product, but you just don't like them. So, because again, I can respect somebody who's a complete asshole, but if you're delivering your customers your product, you being an asshole is just me not liking you. It's personal. It's not professional. But if I don't trust you, that's a professional issue. And then there's plenty of people that are just that way. But again, that's how I feel. But I digress. But again, I'm also very jaded. I'm also licking a lot of wounds. So my viewpoint is not the standard. And I'm more reserved because of it. And it's also because I thought people were trustworthy who weren't. And so it's painful. And I have to reevaluate all that. But I digress. But obviously that's that. But again, and then obviously the Comic Mint's doing a lot of good stuff. I enjoy the Comic Mint. I've had a good experience. I can't say it enough. I buy from them a lot. They got a lot of cool books. I like a lot of stuff what they do. That Paul Green book that just came out, it's a beautiful book. It's an absolute beautiful book. So
it is, but hey, honestly, in my opinion, like my stuff for Unholy Nightmare, Silent Nights, Depths of Valor, they're just as beautiful. That's my opinion.
I'll tell you my issue with that Paul Green book, and I have no problem saying it, is you put that next to a Zenescope book, you don't know the difference. And that could be a good or a bad thing. That Vampirella Paul Green book looks like a Van Helsing Zenescope Paul Green book. It looks exactly like it, where if you didn't know it was Vampirella, you could presumably assume it's Van Helsing. There's not enough of a distinguishing factor in that book where you put a Van Helsing Paul Green book against that book next to each other, and there's no indication of dynamite on that Vampirella book. You might not know at a quick glance. I mean, I love Paul Green, but that is the only issue with that book. Is the art style is too close to Van Helsing. It really is. But I love the book. It's an awesome artwork. It's awesome. It's just like that's my only problem with the book.
Yeah, there are some artists who have a very similar style, like the J. Scott Campbell, the Jotun Royals, the Paul Green. Like they all have come from that same school, that similar style, and yeah, it can be easily misconstrued. They can be easily misconstrued.
So but again, it's a beautiful book.
Yeah.
And there's only 300. So if it's still available, guys, go to the comic and go buy it. Or you could buy from KRS too, if you would so choose. Whatever fancies your boat, everybody. But I digress from there before I get you and me both in trouble. And one of us has a job in comics, the other doesn't, so it's all right. I just don't have any friends left in comics. But I do want to actually talk about the business outside of comics. Because I think it's really interesting. Because again, I have a very jaded, very negative opinion about comics, where I think comics are completely fucked. I genuinely believe that they are screwed on a business level right now between Diamond as well as just a shift in market. And I think Bad Girl stuff has dried up. I think that selling books for me has been really, really hard in my eBay store. And I think the market is massively oversaturated. And I'm going to say something that is extremely controversial. I think that without gatekeeping, it has made it so that it is harder to move, sell, and find good comics right now because everybody can do it. And I think that gatekeeping is not necessarily a good thing, but I also think that no gatekeeping is a bad thing. And I think that there does need to be hurdles over it. And it's a very controversial position because I don't know how many books you have bought that have been completely horrible dog shit. And you're like, I just spent $50 for this thing. I mean, and again, I have a controversial opinion on it. And my viewpoint is very different because I've been on the receiving end of a book that was not a $50 book, that the paper was worth more than the effort put into the book. And
yeah, trust me. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, trust me. Like I've backed. I think at this close to over 115 campaigns in the last like 4 or 5 years. Actually, probably 5 years. 115 campaigns, and a good portion of them were not of the quality were toward the money I spent, which was very disappointing. But there were some books that have been, which can be good, and that just shows you that a lot of these creatives who are doing these books on Kickstarter, they may think their stuff is great, it's the best, but at the same time, you could tell they did not have an editor. They didn't have someone looking over their stuff. You got to have that. I have that on every project I do. I'll pay the extra money to have an editor look at my stuff, sometimes two, because I want to produce a good quality book. And that's one thing that a lot of these creatives need to learn. But yeah, I do agree with you. We talked about this beforehand, before we went live. And it's that we believe the Bad Girl market the bubble is bursting on that one. The market is very much oversaturated with that stuff, and if creatives and stores or publishers are smart, they're going to start slightly pivoting away from the Bad Girl market, trying to find other other titles, intellectual properties that they can sell that people are going to be veering toward because they just don't want to see any more of that crap.
Did you also feel, because this is where I think it went wrong, right? I think it went wrong where artists were very loyal to a bunch of companies. So we could use this as a good example, and we'll use Zenoscope, right? Zenoscope had a lot of Paul Green stuff. Zenoscope has been one of those companies where they had people like Ebass, Elias Chaldudis, who was doing a lot of great work for them. And those artists then came over to everybody else. And like they were like the best kept secrets, and they were almost a brand defining component of Zenoscope. And then people like Sun Kuminaki, and there's nothing wrong where there was like, no, maybe there was exclusivity, maybe there wasn't, I don't know. But then those artists, started doing work for other people. So then they started doing Lady Death stuff, and then they started doing other things, and then all of a sudden they get onto Kickstarter, and then they're doing Kickstarter covers. So now, I love Keith Garvey's work, right? And so Keith Garvey now is doing 5 Kickstarter projects. He's on Zenoscope. He's on Lady Death. He's doing something maybe for you at some point. He's doing something for my friend Preston Coulter. And so he's getting to play with the whole fucking sandbox. And it's good for him as an artist. But then these companies that were the founders or the revival of Bad Girl art, no longer have the standing pillar in those 4 companies. Now they're playing in the 30 companies. And I think that's where that also killed the Bad Girl market, is that it creates oversaturation. And now if I want a Keith Garvey cover and I like a particular person's, book, Keith Garvey's on that book now, I can now choose, and now I have to make a choice because I don't have an infinite amount of money. And so now I'm like, well, Keith Garvey did a better job on that cover than this Kickstarter, so I'm going to go here. And then all of a sudden we get that, and then cool, I like Lady Death. Oh, Keith Garvey has a Lady Death cover. I'm there too now. But then all of a sudden, I only have $100 for the month, and my $100, and there's 10 places Keith Garvey's at, and I can only get 2. And I think that also killed it to some degree because it cuts into revenue. And that's what I think did part of this too, is that we talk about oversaturation with money being a finite component. And so artists are free, but that kills things because brands lose their identity.
Yeah, and I would say also just an overall, in my opinion, just a laziness on the covers. I mean, a lot of these times these artists are just drawing the ladies just standing there. I'm like, really? That's it? That's all you're going to do? That's all you got? And I really feel like a lot of those covers like that just really start blending together, and people are just like, I don't care. There's nothing different, any different from that one than from that one. And they're just going to checked out, they're tuned out, and they're going to be looking for something else that's going to get their interest. I mean, I didn't think it'd get to that, but it's come to that. A lot of publishers just really stopped trying and producing sexy covers.
Ben Dunn had a statement, and it was really interesting. He said, is there going to get a point where a publisher just puts sexy art or art on a cover and they have blank pages?
I think someone almost did that. I think someone might have done that, actually.
I almost did that. That would have been me.
I think it was Pharaoh's Lounge. I think it was Pharaoh's Lounge. I think this was what it was. I think they did something like that, where like on the interiors there may have been a couple pages, but there were some blank pages, and it's just like it was. But it's the same thing. Same thing is printed over and 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 over again. Nothing new. It's like, wow. Okay. Clearly, you are literally just selling it on the cover.
I mean, but the point Ben Dunn was making from Antarctic Press was that, are we getting to the stage where people aren't opening up a book and they just want the cover? And then if that's the case, I mean,
yes, we are. We're there. I mean, it's been seen at Marvel and DC. People are buying those ratio and variants. They're done by like the Delatos, the Perillos, the Art Germs. They're buying them. They're not reading them. They're just put them in a long box and calling it a day.
And so that also kills it to some degree. So I mean,
the collector, speculator, prospector market has it's really killed the storytelling.
I mean, let me ask you a question. What was the last great story you read from a comic from Marvel and DC?
For Marvel and DC. I'm looking at my bookshelf here. Uh, Marvel and DC, the latest and greatest. I would say from DC, it probably would be the first volume of Superman 78 by Robert Venditti, and that was like 2-3 years ago. I really really enjoyed that run. That was fantastic. Marvel, uh, I can't help you with that one.
Not much of a Marvel guy. The last thing I read that
Yeah.
I really enjoyed was Tony Stark with his white Iron Man suit. Like
Oh my god,
that was old. That's old.
yeah, that's a decade ago. Yeah, over a decade.
That's a decade ago. I like the new Spider-Man stuff that just came out, where it's like Ultimate Spider-Man. I like what they're doing there. That's kind of fun. It's kind of old school, but it's got a new vibe to it. I'm enjoying it where it's tolerable, but it's better than average, but it's not like fantastic. And then the thing with DC that I'm enjoying right now is Absolute Batman. I really really enjoy Absolute Batman. I think it's decent. I don't think I don't think it's Scott's best work. I think Court of the Owls, Scott Snyder, I think was his pinnacle Batman stuff. Because Court of the Owls, I think, was just brilliant in its concept, where you have the owls perching in Wayne Tower in between the floors, which is what owls do. Like the concept was so meta, and I think Absolute Batman is paying tribute to that, and I think they're not going that deep, but I think they're trying to touch back on the New 52 stuff. And I think he's digging a little bit deep there. I think he's trying to do something like that, and I think he's trying to bring it back to what the New 52 Batman stuff was. But it's hard to do it right now. But I think he doesn't have freedom the way that he used to have with New 52, and I think he's doing his best, and I think he's navigating a minefield as a writer. I really do.
Well, I would say Absolute Batman is one of those. It's like the Roadhouse of comic books right now. It is over the top, hilarious, and crazy. It's like just like Roadhouse. It's over the top. It's hilarious and crazy, and I get a kick out of it for that. You can't read it and take it seriously. I can't read it and take it seriously. But I will say for me, the two best books at DC Comics right now are Green Lantern and Aquaman. Granted, Aquaman's only been one issue. It was really good, really damn good, but Green Lantern has been really damn good too. They're close to great. I can't say great yet, but they're close to it. Jeremy Adams, he is the next superstar at DC Comics.
I'm gonna have to pick it up then. I mean, again, I've been out of comics for a while. I'm reading like old school stuff. Like I enjoy like the old school stuff. Like
nice.
Going back to like the 1970s and 1980s Teen Titans stuff. Like because I find that stuff to still be great. Like and then like I don't know how to explain it. Like I find it like that it's still good, and I've read it so many times, and I don't get bored from it.
I love books like that. I've got plenty of books like that where I've just read them over and over and over again. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've read Born Again, or Saga of the Swamp Thing, or Nightfall, or Death Superman. I've read them over so many damn times. I love it. I love them. They're rereadable.
And then I mean I just read Fables from start to finish.
Ooh, nice.
That was a good read. I didn't read all of it, so I didn't read like the Cinderella stuff. Like I read the main story, right? Like I wasn't gonna go like into all the side quests, but I bought it for like $130, the whole box. I read it like in physical print, and it was awesome. It was awesome, and it was enjoyable. You read like 2 or 3 chapters a night, but like I was going slow, so it took me a while. It took me a while to read it, but I wanted to just read like 90 pages or like 60 pages at a time. And then after 3 issues, I'd put it down for the night, and it was great. It took me like a while. I think what is it, like 190 issues or something like that.
Yeah.
So it took me like 6 months to read it, but I mean I could have done it faster, but I want to make that crystal clear. But I wanted to enjoy it. But it was great. It was great because I remember reading half of Fables, but I didn't read the other half. So I was spoiled. I was spoiled during that read, but I digress. Worth $130 that I spent on it. Came in a nice like box. It's a beautiful thing. Oh man, it's on my bookshelf. Doesn't really fit in my bookshelf because it's like a trapezoid. It's terrible. Well worth it. Well worth it. People have been very upset with me that I support DC for what they did to him, but the writer. But I'm like, well, fuck you. I don't really care. It's a great story. So you could all go. If you reread Fables, everybody, you will understand. But you know, Snow White has to work on her mothering skills. I'm just saying. Just say it. Too soon? Too soon, everybody?
Too soon.
I mean, I could raise those wolf children very easily. Very easily. I'd be an excellent mother. I'm very proud. I believe in the me that believes in me. But I digress. But before again, I get you and me both in trouble here. But beyond that, I am curious what you think about diamond, because it is not a pearl.
It's not, but I will say this: it gives independent creators a better opportunity to release and distribute and own their own books. It gives them the chance to be in control of their own destiny. They can go through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Zoop, what have you. There's people that they can pay for fulfillment. I mean, I really think they're better off that way than going through Diamond. I just, yeah.
So let me ask this, because right now Diamond has declared bankruptcy. They have, I think, 37 suitors, from my understanding, that were in discussion to pick them up. Then there's another bunch of other people who have signed like NDAs.
Yeah, over 90 million they owe. Yeah.
And then Raymond James, which is like an investment debtor bank, I think, is involved now. And so, I mean, I don't know the full extent of Diamond on how they do things, but I know every time you cut a middleman in, it becomes less and less and less money that you get as a creative. But I understand that if you want to get into comic shops, to get in without Diamond is pretty damn near impossible. So I don't want Diamond to fail, but I don't disagree that I don't think Diamond's the future.
No, it's not. It's not the future. They had their chance. They had plenty of opportunities to update their equipment, to modernize, to fix whatever problems for distribution and shipments, but they never did. And their customer service was, from what I understand, a lot of times terrible. And they just never did anything about it because there was no competition. And when there's no competition, you don't really have to do anything to improve. And now we're at a stage where they're declaring bankruptcy. There's no one to really fill that void outside of, Penguin Random House and Lunar. But they were a great competition, and they really showed that, hey, these are what distributors look like, that know what they're doing, that actually have modernized equipment, care about their product that they're shipping, talk to their customers. And I really think this was it's how should I say it? It's not a good thing, but it is a good thing. It's a good it's hard to say. Like I hate that it happened, but it's a good thing.
You want me to give you a good analogy?
Sure.
Because I'm gonna have the perfect analogy for this. So a forest fire sometimes is a necessity because it clears out all the brush.
Yes.
That needs to go in a fire, and sometimes you have really big trees that grow, and sometimes they need to fall down because they're blocking the sunlight, and they're getting the sunlight, but there's all these trees and small plants that aren't getting enough sunlight. So one of those big trees falls down, or two or three of them fall down, more sunlight comes in, and then the small trees then can become the next big trees. And I think that's the idea with Diamond, is that there was a point where the brush fire needed to clear out some of the waste, or they needed to fall to allow other individuals or other companies or other small people to come up and take over. And I'm not saying I want a company to fail, because obviously I don't want comic shops to suffer, but that's kind of what I think happened. And I mean, again, I'm not in this space. I like to buy comics. I don't want my local comic shop to be screwed over because Diamond completely fucked up, right? Because that's a messed up position too. Is that I don't want a small business to fail because of another business that's a conglomerate and is a monster. But like at the same time, I mean, it was long overdue for another publisher or at least multiple publishers to come in. I mean, there's been no competition. I mean, iPhone has Android and Pixel and Google and a bunch of other competitions that makes my iPhone more competitive.
Yeah, and another way to look at that, competition wise, BlackBerry, when that came out, it was like BlackBerry, it was Palm Pilot. They're just at the time, and like there was competition, but it really wasn't there. BlackBerry was the king, and they really didn't. They did some kind of modernizations, tweakings here and there, but not much. They really stayed the same. And then iPhone came along and changed the game. It just shows you what competition does. And it really this was. I mean, it's like I said, it's sad. This fire is unfortunate, but it was needed.
Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. And let me ask this too, because since we're on the Diamond topic, do you also think that creators, because I hear creators saying I want to be in Diamond, but I don't know. Like, I don't want to be.
No.
I mean, again, I mean, I think it's like the idea that the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look. I mean, being in Diamond, being in stores. That's then. That is not today. That's the old way. You know, that's not what you want to be. That's not what you want to do anymore. That's like back in the day when you wanted to host the Tonight Show. That was a dream for every stand-up comedian, to host the Tonight Show. That's gone. That show, everything that is done and gone, and that's never going to happen again. Same thing with this. You know, wanting to be in stores? No. You know, I'd rather be directly into the consumer's hands. I know that the buyer, that the customer has bought my book himself, and I'm giving him everything because he believes in me. Whereas just a store, just on a whim, purchased 5, 10 of copies of my book, just sight unseen. I find that odd and weird. It's just I'd rather have that knowing that the customer himself bought my book.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, I mean, 10 years ago, I would have wanted to run like a brick and mortar store, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that was then. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want a brick and mortar store. I don't want a Shopify store. I want to run on eBay.
I would say eBay or whatnot. eBay or whatnot. Those are two.
eBay, whatnot, Amazon. Those are the three. Because Amazon's pretty good. Amazon is very similar to eBay. It's a little bit different where you gotta put $40. It costs you $40 a month, and then you could sell unlimited. But beyond that $40, so you have a $40 investment, which is nothing in reality. I mean, $40 is $40, but the point made is that you're paying it one way or the other. eBay, you're going to pay a higher percentage than Amazon, but it all comes out to be equal in the end. But why would I want to have a brick and mortar store? Because I want to reach globally. On eBay, I sell all over the world. I sell to Australia, I sell to Spain, I sell to Germany all the time, I sell to the UK. I just sold a bunch of stuff to Canada, and it's awesome because they handle my international shipping. And it cost me an extra percentage point, which is nothing in reality when you're making big orders. So if I could sell to all over the world, it's crazy. And I just sold a cart to the United Emirates, Arab Emirates, which is wild. If you told me I would have sold a UFC card to the United Arab Emirates, I'd be like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, it's kind of funny, right? But like, they took care of all that shipping, and that's why I want to be on eBay. If I have a storefront, I can't sell international. I'm limited to like a 50-mile radius at best. So I find it so interesting because, again, I mean, and if you get into stores, great. I don't see why you still can't get into stores if you're running a comic, but isn't it the idea though that, like, I mean, that's what I think is so interesting about this conversation. And I don't because I hear that people still want to be in stores, and I don't get it. And maybe it's because I don't have a comic book.
Look, I mean, being that title, that distinction, that honor of being in the store, it doesn't have that luster like it once did. That's not the thing to be. That's not the thing to do now. That's very archaic. That's the past. And not a lot of people are doing that. That was the thing to do 10, 20, 30, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But now it's like, no, I would say the future is, the today is being on Whatnot, is being on eBay, selling directly to the customer himself.
I'll ask it
your
this
property.
way. So I don't give a fuck about status symbol, right? I don't really care what you think of me on a status symbol. I care about how much money and how many sales and what I'm selling and my customer approval rating on eBay. I don't care what you think of me. If you think I'm crazy, you think, oh, Andrew only has X amount of subscribers. I don't really care. I want money in my pocket, and I want to be able to make more money than a project costs, right? Or at least break even.
Yes. Yes.
And so I don't, maybe it's some people want a status symbol. Maybe they're hungry for the status. I don't really need anybody to acknowledge me. Actually, that's not true. I need Roman Reigns to acknowledge me, but that's not the point here. I can't help that joke. It'd be so great. I need a wise man like Paul Heyman. We all need a wise man like Paul Heyman. But no. All jokes aside, I don't need anybody to acknowledge me. What I need money going into my bank account, because that's way more important than saying, "Oh, Andrew, you're the greatest." Because guess what? Telling me I'm the greatest at something doesn't pay my bills.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, a social currency cannot actually pay bills.
And I don't really care if people say, "Oh, well, this celebrity has social currency." I'm like, yeah, but they turn their social currency into actual currency. So let's not pretend that if you have 2 million followers on Twitter or Instagram, that you have those 2 million followers didn't pay your bill. You marketed them something. Now, we could have a discussion what you marketed them, but again, it's the marketing and converting them into a paying customer. And so that's where I'm at. And maybe and maybe this is why I don't get on shows, because nobody wants to hear it. And I will tell everybody all day, my objective is to sell comics and convert that into dividend-paying stocks. So that the time I'm 60, I will have a very substantial check coming to me every single month. And I will never have to worry about money. And that is the objective.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of creatives, publishers just don't have the same mindset that you do. They don't have the same plan.
Yep. And that's why maybe I'll create a charity to solve this. Or maybe there already is one. It's probably called the Heroes Initiative. And they do a great job. They do. But again, that's where I'm at. But I don't need a status symbol to tell me that I'm great. I already know it. It's okay. You can all repeat it if you would like. It requires 3 steps. Buy a mirror and say, "I am great," while looking in the mirror. And you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I just created self-affirmation for everybody. You're all welcome. You're all welcome. You could all, buy me a beer when you see me. But I digress. I'm not going to have a job after this. I can promise you that in comics. I might not have any friends either. But I don't know if I really care. I don't know if I care. Because again, it is what it is. Because I still have friends in wrestling. I still have friends in cosplay. I still have friends in voice acting. And if I lose all my friends in comics, well, it's been a fun time at the panels, everybody.
Yeah, panels can be fun.
I mean, all you have to do is add some word bubbles and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help it. I can't help it today. I can't help it. But obviously you got a lot of other stuff going on. I do want to ask you one more question before I give you a chance to self-promote. What'd you think of the Royal Rumble?
So I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. So it's unfortunate.
What did you watch of it?
Did I watch? Actually, you know what? I don't think I saw any of it. I don't think I saw. And it was here in Indy. That's a sad thing. It was here in Indy, where I'm at. Didn't get a chance to see any of the promotions. The promotions. I saw. What's her name? The daughter on Pat McAfee's show. McMahon.
Stephanie McMahon.
Stephanie McMahon was on Pat McAfee's show promoting it, and I saw Triple H as well.
I thought she was pretty good. I thought she was pretty good on Pat McAfee's show.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. Did you know the results? Let me ask you that.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
You don't know what's going on at all.
No.
Oh boy. This I don't want to ruin it for you because it's half of it's good. So the Women's Royal Rumble, I'll say it this way for those, a lot of people know how I feel about this. The Royal Rumble the women's was better on a talent level, but it had no story. The men's had great story, but it was less talented. Does that make any sense? Like there's less effort, talent, pure athleticism but the story was off the chart on the men's. But the men's division has so much going on. There's so many ways they could have spun that thing out where you could have had legitimately the last 10 people all win the Royal Rumble.
Huh. How about that?
The Women's Royal Rumble, the ending sucked. But the match...
Did my girl Rhea Ripley win?
No, she can't win. She's the champ right now.
Okay, she's champ. All right, that's good. That's good.
So she can't win because she has a match at Mania. So that's cool, right? But
yes, it is.
She's great. She's great. But my problem is that the ending sucked of the Women's Royal Rumble, and the ending of the men's was such a swerve. How do you think the Men's Royal Rumble ended? Just curiosity.
It ended on a let's see here. Someone trying to pin someone. Referee gets knocked out. Doesn't go the way they want.
You got to throw people over the ropes. So there's no going to be hitting here. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Who do you think won it? Who do you think won it?
John Cena wasn't in it, right? No, but he
was in it.
I'll say John Cena probably won.
So Cena didn't win it.
Oh.
CM Punk didn't win it. Seth Rollins didn't win it. Roman Reigns didn't win it. Randy Orton didn't win it. LA Knight didn't win it. Who they had won it was such a swerve. Sami Zayn didn't win it. It wasn't on anybody's bingo card what they did. And after I was with all my friends, and we were all shocked for like a good 10 minutes, and we're like, what the fuck just happened?
Mankind came out of retirement and won.
Who came out of retirement?
Mankind came out of retirement. Yeah.
He entered it 3 times, but that's not the point here. That's one of the best Royal Rumbles ever. But no. It was such a swerve. It was such a swerve, and it was amazing storytelling. And this relates back to comics because what they did in that match is where I think storytelling is going. And I think that's what people want because wrestling is not that far from comics.
No, it's not.
WWE could have they could have ran the Royal Rumble 10 different times, and we would have 10 different WrestleMania cards. And they could run this same event minus John Cena and do the match the exact same way. The last 10 wrestlers, they could mix it up, and they would have, for the next 10 years, 10 amazing WrestleMania main events out of this Royal Rumble. Easy, hands down.
Wow.
Like watch the men's Royal Rumble, and you'll be like, oh my God, I did not see that coming. It was one of those positions, and and that's why I asked the question because it's unbelievable. But again, I was shocked at the ending, and I'm still shocked.
I think after we're done here here shortly, I'm gonna turn on the 2025 Royal Rumble highlights or whatever on YouTube. Hopefully, someone put it up so I can watch it because I want to be able to see what happened.
Unbelievable. The women's ending sucked. That match, hour 25 minutes, unbelievable match. Men's first 15 wrestlers were okay. Last 15, whole different match. Unbelievable ending. The last like 10 minutes of that match was unbelievable. And you will never guess in a million years who won it. It was
Rock?
that good. What?
The Rock?
Yeah, and they gave everybody in the stands a share of TKO. No. It was unbelievable. I'm not going to ruin it for you because when you see you're gonna shoot me a message, you're like, oh my god, I did not see that coming either. But I digress. I digress. I don't want to ruin it for you because it was that good. It was that good. Arguably the best Royal Rumble probably in the last 20 years.
Whoa, that's saying a lot.
What they did was the essence of like they changed the game of a cliffhanger completely and of a swerve. Crazy, but I digress. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself because I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I know you got a lot of things to promote. You got a lot of stuff coming up. People should be on the lookout for what's coming next for you because you're doing a lot of writing. You got some titles that have not been announced yet that I don't even know. You got probably some other stuff that's always happening with you because you don't stay still. Like I don't stay still. So yeah. So where can people find you, bother you, look out for news, all that fun stuff?
No, I mean, back to what you say, you're right. Like, literally before we went live, I just finished the latest draft of another script, turn it into my editor, Aaron Sparrow. So yeah, I don't stop every day. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Dolan Waddick. You can find me on Instagram, Dolan_Waddick. And I am posting nothing but all the work I am working on. Whether it's an Unholy Nightmare, Silent Nights, Depths of Valor, Aftermath, and all the soon-to-be announced properties and books I'm working on for Murat Michaels, as well as a head shop through Big Ivy Comics. There's going to be plenty of Dolan Waddick coming in 2025. Stay tuned, and stay tuned for Depths of Valor. That should be my next book coming up, on Kickstarter. It's going to be great. You don't want to miss out on that. From what I've been told, it's the best script I've ever written. That's not hyperbole.
Oh, I'm sure people are going to be excited for that, and obviously people should go follow you on all the social media stuff, your website, all that fun stuff, everything. Just type in Dolan Comics. It'll pop up on Google somewhere, and everything else that you mentioned. And then as far as I'm concerned, obviously I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on TikTok, Pop Anime Comics on the YouTube. I also am in the process of working on and building out a project called Big Boy Card Collecting. I break cards. And so I have this breaking a little bit later tonight live, along with a whole hobby box of Series 1 baseball that just came out today. It's still available for you to purchase at Topps.com. I get no commission from that. I just want you to get your cards, everybody. So check that out. And then I do run a little eBay store right here. Look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And I sell really cool stuff like this in my store. John Cena leaf metal. These are sold out, limited to 200. Pretty cool right there. I sell cool stuff like this, which is WNBA cards. Really expensive stuff like that. Stuff like this. I also sell $7 cards. I sell like $5 baseball cards. And I do sell a lot of comics. So if you're looking for something, I got you covered. If you don't see what you want in my store, well, ask, because I may or may not have it. And if I do not have it, chances are I know somebody who does, and I will connect you with them. I've done it for plenty of my clients, and they always get what they want. So there you go, everybody. So that's everything that I got going on, and I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Andrew. It's great being here. I hope that at one point, for when you're watching this, I hope I get to meet you at a convention and shake your hand and say thank you for considering to buy my book or buying my book. And really, guys, give indie books a shot. Those are the best.
And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.